Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. I never believed in cursed objects. I believed in coincidence, stress, and the human mind's ability to turn ordinary things into monsters when the lights go out. That belief followed me through most of my life, right up until the night I brought the doll home. Every horror stories podcast I had ever listened to suddenly felt less like entertainment and more like a warning I had ignored. The doll came from an estate sale on the outskirts of town. The house belonged to an elderly woman who had passed away without family. Most of the items were ordinary: furniture, books, old clothes that smelled faintly of dust and lavender. I was there looking for antiques, something with history that might be worth restoring. When I saw the doll sitting alone on a wooden chair in the corner of the bedroom, I felt an unexpected chill. It was old, older than most dolls I had seen. The porcelain face was cracked in delicate lines like dried riverbeds. Its painted lips were faded, frozen in a half-smile that felt unfinished. The eyes were closed, long lashes resting against pale cheeks. It wore a blue dress that had once been bright, but now looked like it had absorbed decades of shadows. I should have walked away. Instead, I picked it up. The woman running the sale told me it had belonged to a little girl. She did not know the name. She did not know the story. She only said the doll had been found in the house long after the girl was gone. There was something in her voice when she said it, a hesitation that made me uneasy. Still, I paid and carried the doll out to my car, telling myself I was being ridiculous. At home, my wife Emily raised an eyebrow when she saw it. She laughed, but there was discomfort in her smile. She asked where I planned to put it. I told her it was temporary, just until I decided what to do with it. I placed the doll in the corner of our bedroom, leaning it gently against the wall. Its eyes remained closed, lifeless, harmless. That night, sleep came slowly. I kept thinking about the doll, about how quiet the house felt with it inside. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed of a child standing at the foot of my bed. I could not see her face. I only knew she was watching me, waiting. I woke suddenly, heart pounding. The room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of the alarm clock. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then I saw it. The doll's eyes were open. They were not wide, not exaggerated, just open enough to reflect light. Glassy, aware. I froze, convinced my mind was playing tricks on me. I had checked the doll before sleeping. The eyes had been closed. I knew that. I sat up slowly, afraid that sudden movement would make something worse. The eyes followed me. I did not scream. I did not move closer. I simply stared, trying to force logic into a situation that refused to accept it. After what felt like hours, but could not have been more than a few seconds, I turned on the bedside lamp. Light flooded the room. The doll's eyes were closed again. Emily slept through everything. The next morning, I examined the doll in daylight. The eyes were fixed shut, smooth and seamless. There was no mechanism, no hinge, no reason they should open at all. I laughed it off, telling myself it had been a dream layered on top of exhaustion. Still, I moved the doll slightly farther from the bed. That day, unease followed me everywhere. At work, I caught myself replaying the moment in my head. At lunch, I searched online for similar experiences. Half joking, half desperate, I found endless horror stories about dolls, but none that matched exactly what I had seen. That should have comforted me. It did not. That evening, Emily went to bed early. I stayed up, watching television with the volume low. Every so often, I glanced down the hallway toward the bedroom. Nothing moved. Eventually, I turned off the lights and joined her. The doll sat where I had left it, eyes closed, face turned slightly away. Sleep came again. This time, the dream was clearer. The child was closer. I could hear her breathing. She whispered something I could not understand. When I tried to wake up, my body would not respond. I opened my eyes. The doll's face was inches closer than before. Its eyes were fully open now, staring directly at me. There was no warmth in them, no emotion, just awareness. I felt the weight of being observed in a way I had never experienced before. Slowly, deliberately, the doll's head tilted, as if studying me. I shut my eyes and forced myself awake with a gah. The doll was back in the corner, eyes closed, head straight, exactly as it had been. I did not sleep again that night. By morning, denial was no longer an option. Something was happening, something that only occurred when I slept. I moved the doll out of the bedroom and placed it in the living room, facing the wall. Emily asked if everything was all right. I told her I had a bad dream. That was not a lie. It just was not the whole truth. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, a single thought repeated in my mind. The doll only opens its eyes when I sleep, and somewhere deep inside, I knew it was only the beginning. I did not tell anyone about the doll the next morning. Not my wife, not my coworkers, not even myself, if that makes sense. I treated the memory the way you treat a nightmare after waking up, by pretending it fades when you refuse to look at it directly. But the image stayed with me all day. The cracked porcelain face, faded blue dress, and most of all, the certainty that when I slept, its eyes would open again. I work as an archivist at a small historical museum in Vermont, which means my days are quiet, predictable, and filled with objects that carry other people's lives inside them. Old letters, photographs, toys sealed in glass cases. I had catalogued hundreds of dolls before, but none of them had ever come home with me. The one from the estate sale felt different from the beginning, like it had chosen me instead of the other way around. That afternoon, I caught myself staring at the security camera feed on my phone more than once. The camera faced our bedroom. The doll sat exactly where I had left it, leaning against the wall, its eyes dull and lifeless. I told myself that was proof that nothing was wrong, proof that horror stories were just stories. Still, every time I blinked, I imagined the doll blinking back. When night came, sleep felt like a negotiation instead of a natural act. I tried to stay awake by reading, scrolling, doing anything that kept my eyes open. At some point, exhaustion won. It always does. The last thing I remember before drifting off was turning my head slightly toward the corner, just enough to reassure myself that the doll's eyes were still closed. I dreamed of standing in a long hallway lined with mirrors. In every reflection, I was asleep in my own bed. The doll sat beside me in each mirror, its eyes open wide, staring directly at the version of me who could not move. When I tried to scream, no sound came out. The doll smiled, and every mirror cracked at once. I woke up drenched in sweat. The room was silent, except for the slow rhythm of my breathing. For a moment, I did not move. I did not even open my eyes. I already knew what I would see. That certainty was worse than fear. It was resignation. When I finally forced myself to look, my stomach dropped. The doll's head had turned. It was subtle, just a few inches, but there was no denying it. The eyes were open again, dark and glassy, reflecting the faint glow of the street light through the curtains. They were not looking at me this time. They were looking at the door. I sat up so fast the room spun. My heart hammered in my ears. I followed the doll's gaze, expecting to see someone standing there. The door was closed, locked. I checked it anyway, my hands shaking as I twisted the handle. Nothing, no sound, no movement. When I turned back, the doll's eyes had shifted slightly, as if tracking me. I did not sleep again that night. By morning, my nerves were shot. I decided I needed answers, real ones, rational ones. Objects do not move on their own. Dolls do not open their eyes. There had to be a mechanism, a trick, something I had missed. I placed the doll on the kitchen table and examined it under bright light. The porcelain was cracked in several places, the paint chipped from age. There were no seams around the eyelids, no strings, no weights, nothing that explained what I had seen. Inside the dress, stitched into the fabric, I found something that made my blood run cold. A name, handwritten in faded ink. Eleanor. Below it, barely legible, were the words, "Do not let her sleep alone." I dropped the doll as if it had burned me. The rest of the day blurred together. I tried researching the estate where I bought the doll, old property records, newspaper archives, local horror stories forums. That night, I found a single article from 1949, a house fire on the outskirts of town. A young girl named Eleanor died in her bedroom while her parents slept downstairs. Neighbors reported hearing screaming, but by the time help arrived, it was too late. There was one detail that froze me in place. According to witnesses, Eleanor's favorite possession was a porcelain doll she slept with every night. After the fire, the doll was never found. That night, I did not put the doll back in the bedroom. I locked it in the hall closet, wrapped in a blanket, with the door shut tight. I told myself that was enough. That distance would break whatever connection existed. When I went to bed, I left the light on and kept my eyes open as long as I could. Sleep came anyway. I dreamed of a small hand tugging at my sleeve, a child's voice whispering my name from somewhere behind my eyes. "Don't close them," it said. "She opens hers when you do." I woke up screaming. The bedroom door was open. The closet door at the end of the hall stood wide, the blanket lying empty on the floor. And sitting at the foot of my bed, perfectly upright, was the doll. Its eyes were open wider than ever before. This time, it was looking straight at me. I realized then that the doll was not watching me sleep. It was waiting for me to wake up. After the third night, I began to fear the moment just before sleep more than the nightmares themselves. That fragile space when the mind loses loosens its grip but has not fully let go felt dangerous now, like standing at the edge of a dark lake, knowing something beneath the surface was waiting for me to sink. I moved the doll again. This time, I carried it into the garage and locked it inside a metal cabinet. I wrapped it in an old towel, then another, as if layers could somehow mute its presence. The cabinet door shut with a hollow clang that echoed longer than it should have. I stood there for a full minute afterward, listening, half expecting to hear something moving inside. There was only silence. That night, Emily noticed my restlessness. She asked if work had been stressful. I nodded and kissed her forehead, grateful for the normalcy of the gesture. I wanted to tell her everything, but the words felt dangerous. Saying them out loud would make the doll real in a way I was not ready to face. So I stayed quiet and waited for sleep to claim me. It did not come easily. When it finally did, I found myself standing in our garage. The lights were off, but I could see clearly, as if the darkness itself had learned to step aside. The metal cabinet stood open. The towels lay on the floor, neatly folded. The doll was gone. I heard footsteps behind me, small, careful, barely making a sound. I turned slowly and saw a little girl standing near the door. Her dress was burned and blackened at the edges. Her hair hung in uneven clumps around her face. She held the doll against her chest. "You left her alone," the girl said. Her voice was not angry. It was disappointed. I jolted awake, gasping for air. My heart pounded so hard I felt dizzy. The bedroom was dark. Emily slept beside me, unaware. For a moment, relief washed over me. It was only a dream. Then I heard it, a soft scraping sound, distant but deliberate. I got out of bed and followed the noise down the hallway, my bare feet cold against the floor. It led to the garage door. The handle was warm, as if someone had touched it recently. When I opened it, the smell hit me first. Old fabric, dust, something faintly sweet and rotten. The metal cabinet stood open. Inside, the towels were folded. The doll was gone. I searched the garage frantically, turning on lights, opening boxes, checking every corner. Nothing. My hands shook as panic crept up my spine. I locked the garage door and went back inside, telling myself it had to be a prank, a hallucination, anything but what it felt like. The doll was sitting on the living room couch. It faced the television, its legs stretched out stiffly, its hands folded in its lap. The remote lay beside it, angled toward the screen. The sight was so absurd I almost laughed. Almost. Then I noticed the eyes. They were open, wide, focused. I backed away slowly, my breath shallow. The doll did not move. It did not need to. The sense of being watched pressed down on me like weight. I felt exposed in my own home, vulnerable in a way locks and walls could not fix. I did not touch the doll. I grabbed my keys and left the house. I spent the night driving aimlessly, stopping only when exhaustion forced me to pull over and rest. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw the doll's gaze burning into me. When morning came, I returned home, bracing myself for what I might find. The doll was back in the bedroom. It sat in the corner where it had been the first night. Emily was awake now, staring at it. She asked me why I kept moving the doll around. Her voice was calm, but there was confusion in her eyes. She said she found it in different rooms when she woke up during the night. She said she thought I was playing a joke. I told her the truth then, or most of it. She laughed at first. Then she saw my face. The laughter faded. She suggested we get rid of it, throw it away, donate it, burn it, anything. I agreed. That afternoon, we drove to a landfill an hour outside town. I carried the doll myself, wrapped tightly in a trash bag. I did not look at it. I did not want to see its eyes. When we reached the site, I threw the bag into the pit with more force than necessary. It disappeared beneath piles of refuse for the first time in days. I felt hope. That night, I slept. No dreams, no whispers, no eyes opening in the dark. I woke just before dawn, calm and rested. At the foot of the bed sat the doll. The trash bag lay neatly folded beside it. Its eyes were open, and for the first time, I saw something new in them. Recognition. It was no longer following me because I slept. It was following me because I was awake. From that morning on, the doll stopped pretending it was just an object. It did not move dramatically or announce itself with sound. Instead, it began to exist in our lives the way habits do, quietly and persistently, inserting itself into moments when we were least prepared to question it. Emily tried to act normal. I could tell she was forcing it. She avoided looking directly at the doll, stepping around it as if it were a piece of furniture she did not remember buying. We agreed not to talk about it at night. Some part of us believed that acknowledging it after dark would give it permission to do something worse. The doll started changing places during the day. At first, it was small things. I would leave it sitting in the living room before work and come home to find it in the kitchen, positioned at the table like it had been waiting. Other times, it would be in the hallway, turned toward the bedroom. Its eyes were always closed in daylight. That was the rule it seemed to follow. Only at night did it watch. I tried setting up cameras. I placed one in the living room and another in the hallway. The footage showed nothing unusual. Hours passed with the doll sitting perfectly still. Then the video would cut to static for several minutes. When the image returned, the doll would be somewhere else. No movement, no transition, just absence and reappearance. Watching it made my skin crawl more than seeing the doll itself. Sleep became dangerous again. I forced myself to stay awake as long as possible, drinking coffee late into the night, scrolling endlessly on my phone. Emily fell asleep beside me, her breathing slow and steady. Eventually, exhaustion dragged me under. I woke to the sound of breathing that was not my own. It was shallow, careful, measured. The doll stood beside the bed. It was closer than ever before. Its porcelain face inches from Emily's sleeping head. Its eyes were open, wide and reflective, fixed on her. I reached out instinctively, knocking it away. The doll hit the floor with a dull thud. The sound woke Emily. She screamed when she saw it. That was the first time she truly understood. We did not sleep after that. We sat together on the couch until morning, the doll locked in the bathroom with the light on. When the sun rose, we made a plan. We would take the doll to a priest, a museum, anyone who might understand what we were dealing with. Something tied to a child, a death, a fire. There had to be rules. There always were in horror stories. The priest listened politely but refused to take it. He said some things were not meant to be moved once they had settled. The museum curator declined as well. She said objects carried memory, but this felt like intention. By evening, frustration replaced fear. That night, Emily suggested something we had avoided. We would stay awake together if the doll only opened its eyes when we slept. Then sleep was the key. We made coffee, turned on every light, and sat facing each other in the living room. The doll rested on the floor between us, wrapped tightly in rope. Midnight passed, then 1, then 2. My vision blurred. My head nodded despite my efforts. Emily squeezed my hand, whispering my name to keep me focused. I tried to respond, but my tongue felt heavy. I blinked just once. The lights flickered. The rope fell away from the doll as if it had never been there. Its eyes opened slowly, deliberately, not wide, not rushed. It turned its head toward Emily. She screamed my name. I lunged forward, grabbing the doll and hurling it across the room. It slammed into the wall and cracked further, porcelain flaking onto the floor. For a moment, I thought it was over. The doll laughed. It was not loud. It was soft and broken, like air escaping a burned throat. Emily collapsed, sobbing. That was when I realized something we had missed. The doll did not need us both to sleep. It only needed one of us to stop watching. And now it knew how tired we could become. After the night, the doll laughed. Something shifted inside our house. Fear was no longer sharp and immediate. It became heavy, constant, like humidity that clung to the walls and made every breath feel slow. Emily stopped going to work. I called in sick and stopped answering messages. The world outside our home felt distant, unreal, as if we were already halfway gone. We tried ignoring the doll. We left it where it fell, cracked and silent, lying on its side near the wall. Its eyes stayed closed during the day, as always. That gave us courage. We told ourselves that attention fed it, that fear was a language it understood. If we treated it like nothing, maybe it would return to being nothing. For 2 days, nothing happened. We slept in shifts. One of us always stayed awake, watching. The doll did not move. The cameras showed uninterrupted footage, no static, no missing time. On the second afternoon, Emily even laughed. The sound startled both of us. It felt fragile, like glass. That night, I took the first watch. Emily slept on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her face pale with exhaustion. I sat in the armchair across the room, staring at the doll on the floor. The ticking of the clock felt loud enough to echo every few minutes. I checked my phone, then forced myself to look back at the doll. At some point, my vision blurred. I shook my head and stood up, pacing to keep myself alert. When I turned back, the doll was sitting upright. I froze. Its position had changed only slightly, but it was unmistakable. The head tilted just enough to face me. The eyes were still closed. My pulse roared in my ears. I did not wake Emily. I did not touch the doll. I stared until my eyes burned. Minutes passed. The doll remained still. I told myself it had always been sitting that way, that my memory was unreliable. That sleep deprivation was making me imagine things. When my legs began to tremble, I sat back down, never breaking eye contact. That was when I heard the whisper. It came from the space between breaths, soft and thin. "Don't look away." My skin prickled. The voice did not come from the doll. It came from everywhere. From the walls, from the floor, from inside my own head. I squeezed my eyes shut for just a second, trying to block it out. When I opened them, the doll's eyes were open. They were not focused on me. They were fixed on Emily. I lunged forward, shouting her name. The doll fell backward, hitting the floor. Emily jolted awake. Gasping, she followed my gaze and went still. The doll was smiling, not the painted half smile it had worn before. This was different. The crack along its mouth had widened, pulling the porcelain into something that looked almost pleased. Emily screamed. We dragged the doll into the basement and locked it inside a storage room, pushing heavy boxes against the door. We did not stop shaking until morning. When daylight came, the house felt quieter, as if something had retreated to lick its wounds. That afternoon, we left the house together for the first time in days. When we returned, the front door was unlocked. The boxes in the basement had been stacked neatly to one side. The storage room door stood open. The doll sat on the dining table. In front of it lay 2 plates, 2 forks, and 2 glasses. Dust coated everything except the space directly in front of the doll, which was disturbingly clean. Emily broke down. Between sobs, she said something that made my blood run cold. She said she had been dreaming about a little girl standing beside the bed every night. The girl never spoke. She only pointed, sometimes at me, sometimes at the door, sometimes at Emily's stomach. Emily was not pregnant. At least, she had not been, not before the dreams started. That night, we did not try to sleep. We packed bags. We booked a motel hours away. We told ourselves distance would break whatever hold the doll had on us. I carried the doll outside, intent on leaving it behind. The moment I crossed the threshold, the doll's eyes opened, wide, angry. The air grew heavy. My chest tightened as if something invisible had wrapped itself around my lungs. The whisper returned, louder now. "Don't leave her." I dropped the doll. It landed on its feet, standing, watching me. I realized then that ignoring it was not safety, it was rejection, and the doll did not like being rejected. We never made it to the motel. Less than a mile from the house, the car stalled without warning. The engine died so suddenly it felt intentional, like a hand had reached inside and closed something vital. The dashboard lights flickered once, then went dark. I tried the ignition again and again until the silence became unbearable. Emily was shaking beside me. My phone had no signal, neither did hers. The road stretched empty in both directions, swallowed by trees that leaned inward, like they were listening. I looked back toward the house, barely visible through the darkness. The porch light was on. I knew I had turned it off. We walked back. Every step felt wrong. like retracing a decision that should never be undone. The closer we got, the heavier the air became. By the time we reached the front door, my chest ached as if I had been holding my breath the entire way. The door was open. Inside, the house was quiet, but not empty. The doll stood in the hallway, facing us. It did not blink. It did not move. It simply waited. We did not argue. We stepped inside and closed the door behind us. The moment it shut, the porch light went out. That was when I understood. The house was no longer a place we lived. It was a place we were kept. The doll began choosing where we slept. Some nights it left the bedroom empty and waited in the living room, forcing us to sleep on the couch. Other nights it stood in the doorway, blocking our path until we retreated. Wherever it settled, we learned not to challenge it. Resistance brought consequences. Sleep came in fragments. I dreamed of walls breathing, of doors shrinking until they could no longer open, of a child's laughter echoing through vents and pipes. When I woke, the dreams did not fade. They lingered in the corners of my vision. Emily started talking in her sleep. At first, it was just murmurs, then words, names I did not recognize. Once, she whispered the name Eleanor. I did not tell her. One night, I woke to find her standing in the hallway, eyes open, face slack. She walked past me without acknowledging my presence and stopped in front of the doll. They stood there together for a long time, perfectly still. When she finally returned to bed, she remembered nothing. The doll was teaching her. I could feel it. The house itself began to change. Doors creaked even when untouched. The temperature dropped in certain rooms. The mirrors reflected things a fraction of a second too late. In the kitchen, I found small handprints in the dust on the counter. They disappeared when I blinked. I tried to leave again. This time, I did not bring the doll. I waited until Emily slept and slipped out quietly, my heart pounding. The moment my hand touched the door, a sharp pain tore through my head. I collapsed to my knees, vision exploding with white light. The whisper filled my skull. She stays. I crawled back. The doll was sitting in my chair, watching. Emily woke up the next morning with a fever. She said she felt cold all the time. No matter how many blankets I piled on her, her skin was pale, her eyes distant. She asked me why the little girl kept standing by the bed at night. I told her there was no little girl. She smiled sadly and said that was what scared her. That night, the doll moved closer to Emily's side of the bed. It did not look at me anymore. Its attention had shifted. I realized then that the doll was not just watching, it was choosing, and the house was helping it. I used to believe silence was the worst thing a haunted house could offer. I was wrong. Silence is mercy. Sound is intention. By the seventh night, the house found its voice. It began with a whisper that did not belong to the walls. Emily's fever worsened. She drifted in and out of sleep, her breathing shallow, her skin cold despite the heat blasting through the vents. I stayed beside her, afraid to blink, afraid to give the doll even a moment of opportunity. The doll sat on the dresser now, closer than ever, its head angled toward her pillow. Its eyes were closed, but I felt its attention like a hand pressed flat against my chest. Just after midnight, I heard my name. It was faint, almost gentle. I froze. The voice came again, clearer this time. Daniel, Emily did not stir. The doll did not move. I stood slowly, my muscles tight with fear, and followed the sound into the hallway. The lights flickered overhead as I passed beneath them, each one buzzing softly as if irritated by my presence. The whisper guided me toward the guest room, a space we rarely used. The door was open. Inside, the air felt heavier, thick with a smell I could not place at first. Then I recognized it. Smoke. Old smoke. The kind that lingers long after a fire has been put out. The doll sat on the bed. Its eyes were open. They followed me as I stepped inside, tracking every movement with unnatural precision. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stood there, rooted in place, unable to look away. "You hear me now?" the doll said. The voice did not come from its mouth. The porcelain lips never moved. The sound filled the room instead, pressing against my ears from all directions. I shook my head, backing away. "You're not real," I said. The words felt thin and useless. The doll tilted its head. "She is getting tired," it said. My stomach twisted. "Leave her alone." The doll's eyes darkened, the glass catching no light now. "She listens," it replied. "You do not." The temperature dropped suddenly. My breath fogged in front of my face. The smell of smoke grew stronger, mixed with something sickly sweet. "You wake when she sleeps," the voice continued. "You watch, you resist." I clenched my fists. "What do you want?" The doll was quiet for a long moment. Then the answer came, soft and deliberate. "Someone to stay awake." The lights went out. I stumbled backward, my shoulder hitting the wall when the emergency light flickered on. The bed was empty. The doll was gone. I ran back to the bedroom. Emily was sitting up, her eyes open wide, staring at the foot of the bed. The doll stood there, inches from her knees. Its eyes were open, locked onto hers. She was smiling, not a happy smile, not a fearful one. It was the expression of someone who had finally understood something terrible. I shouted her name and rushed forward. The doll turned its head toward me. "She hears me now," it said. I grabbed Emily and pulled her back against me. Her body was cold, unnaturally so. She did not resist. She did not blink. The doll stepped closer. "You sleep?" it whispered. "I wake." I screamed and kicked it away. It struck the wall and cracked again, pieces of porcelain falling to the floor. The voice stopped abruptly, cutting off mid-sound. Emily collapsed in my arms. By morning, her fever broke. She did not remember the night. She did not remember smiling at the doll. She only remembered standing in a burning room, listening to someone call her name again and again. That day, I realized the truth. The doll was not just watching our sleep. It was teaching us how to listen. After the doll spoke, the house settled into a new kind of quiet. It was not peace. It was expectation. Every sound felt deliberate, every shadow purposeful, as if the space around us was holding its breath and waiting for us to make the next mistake. Emily recovered quickly, at least on the surface. Her fever faded, her color returned, and she insisted she felt fine. But something about her presence had changed. She moved more slowly now, pausing in doorways, tilting her head as if listening to something just beyond hearing. Sometimes I would catch her staring at the doll with an expression that was not fear, but recognition. We did not sleep together anymore. I stayed awake at night, pacing the house, while Emily slept in short, restless bursts. The doll positioned itself wherever it pleased, sometimes in the hallway, sometimes near the bed, sometimes directly between us like a boundary neither of us dared cross. Its eyes remained closed when I watched it. The moment my attention drifted, I felt them open. I began writing everything down. Times, positions, movements, words the doll had spoken. If there were rules, I needed to find them. Horror stories always had rules, even if the characters learned them too late. I refused to be one of them. Rule 1 became clear quickly. The doll never moved when it was being directly observed. As long as someone was watching it, truly watching it, it remained still. The moment attention broke, even for a second, it could reposition itself anywhere in the house. Rule 2 followed. The doll preferred the sleeper who listened. Emily heard things in her dreams now. She told me about whispers, about a child asking questions, about promises of warmth and rest. When I asked what the doll wanted, she hesitated before answering. She said it wanted company. Rule 3 was the most dangerous. The doll punished resistance. When I tried to cover its eyes with cloth, the lights shattered. When I moved it farther from the bedroom, Emily woke screaming from nightmares she could not describe. When I shouted at it, the house answered with a sound like distant fire crackling inside the walls. The 4th rule revealed itself by accident. The doll could not leave the house on its own. One afternoon, I forced myself to pick it up. The porcelain was colder than ice, the weight wrong in my hands, heavier than it should have been. I carried it toward the front door, every step accompanied by a pressure in my skull that made my vision pulse. The moment I crossed the threshold, the pain became unbearable. I dropped the doll and collapsed. When I came to her, it lay just inside the doorway, unmoving, its eyes closed. The door stood wide open, but the doll had not crossed it. That night, the whisper returned. "You learn," it said. I did not answer. The doll began testing us. It waited until Emily slept deeply before moving closer. It whispered louder to her than to me. Sometimes I heard her responding in her sleep, nodding slightly, her lips forming words she did not remember in the morning. The doll was teaching her its language. I was losing her. Desperation pushed me toward the internet again. I searched deeper this time, beyond forums and rumors, into old records and forgotten archives. I found references to sleep guardians in obscure folklore, entities tied to burned children and restless nights. They were said to protect sleepers by keeping watch, but only if someone stayed awake in their place. If no one did, they chose for themselves. The realization made my stomach drop. The doll was not evil in the way I had imagined. It was unfinished. That night, I made a choice. I told Emily everything I had learned. I told her about the rules, about the folklore, about the idea that the doll needed someone to stay awake so it could finally rest. She listened quietly, her face unreadable. When I finished, she asked me a question I had been avoiding. How long? I did not answer, because I already knew the truth. The doll was not asking for hours, it was asking for forever. Once the idea settled into my mind, it refused to leave. Someone had to stay awake, someone had to watch so the doll could rest. The house seemed to lean closer each time I thought it, as if listening for my decision. Emily did not push me. That frightened me more than if she had argued. She already knew where this was going. That evening felt unnaturally calm. The doll sat on the coffee table between us, its porcelain hands folded neatly, its eyes closed. For the first time since it came into our lives, it looked almost peaceful. That should have comforted me. Instead, it filled me with dread. I told Emily I would try it for one night. Just one. I said it casually, like a small favor instead of a sacrifice. She nodded, her eyes shining with something that looked like relief and guilt mixed together. She touched my arm and whispered thank you, as if I had already done something heroic. I wanted to tell her not to thank me. I wanted to tell her I was terrified. We prepared the house. I turned on every light. I brewed coffee strong enough to burn my throat. I placed the doll in the living room, directly across from the couch where I planned to sit. I positioned myself so I could see it without moving my head. Watching would be my only job. Emily went to bed early. As she disappeared down the hallway, I felt the weight of the house settle around me. The ticking clock grew louder. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like breathing. I focused on the doll, memorizing every crack, every faded brushstroke on its face. Midnight passed, then one. My eyelids grew heavy, but I forced them open. I sipped coffee and stared. The doll did not move. Its eyes stayed closed. For the first time in weeks, the house felt quiet in a way that did not threaten me. At 2:30, the whisper came, "You watch well." The voice was softer than before, almost approving. It did not frighten me the way it once had. That scared me even more. I answered before I could stop myself. "Is this what you want?" The doll did not speak aloud, but I felt the response settle into my thoughts. "Someone always watches," it said. "You are kind." My chest tightened. What happens if I stop? The silence stretched. "She wakes," the voice replied. I did not ask who she was. Hours crawled by. My body ached. My thoughts blurred. Still, I watched. The doll remained motionless. Its eyes closed the entire time. When dawn finally broke, pale light spilling through the windows, something inside me loosened. I had done it. Emily woke smiling that morning. She said she slept without dreams for the first time in weeks. She hugged me tightly, her warmth grounding me in a way nothing else had. The doll sat exactly where it had been all night. It had not moved. That night, I volunteered again, then again. Each time, it became harder to stay awake. Each time, the doll seemed heavier, as if the act of watching was transferring something into me. My hands shook, my thoughts slowed. But Emily slept peacefully, and that made it feel worth it. On the fourth night, I nodded off for less than a second. Just a bling. Pain exploded behind my eyes. I gasped, jerking awake. The doll had moved closer. Its eyes were still closed, but its head was tilted toward me. "You almost left," the whisper said. "I'm sorry," I whispered back. The words tasted wrong. From then on, the nights grew longer. The doll began speaking more, guiding me, correcting my posture, telling me when to drink, when to stand, when to sit. It wanted me awake, but not restless. Alert, but obedient. Emily started calling me her guardian. She said it jokingly at first. Then she stopped smiling when she said it. I realized something terrible. I was not watching the doll anymore. The doll was watching me, and it was teaching me how to stay awake forever. By the 5th night, sleep was no longer something I missed. It was something I feared. The idea of closing my eyes felt irresponsible. Dangerous, like abandoning a post during a fire. The doll never told me not to sleep. It did not have to. The thought had already rooted itself inside me. Day and night began to blur together. Emily noticed first. She said my eyes looked wrong, too focused, too still. She asked when the last time I slept was, and I had to think about it. The answer embarrassed me. I could not remember. The doll stayed with me constantly now. During the day, it rested on the armchair across from mine, its eyes closed, its cracked face angled toward me, as if even in rest it was aware. At night, it moved closer, always staying within my direct line of sight. As long as I watched it, nothing else in the house moved. Doors stayed shut, whispers stayed low. Emily slept peacefully. That became my reward. The doll began correcting me when I drifted, a pressure behind my eyes, a sharp sound in my ears. Once, when my head nodded forward, I felt something like fingers snap near my face, inches from my skin. I jolted upright, heart racing. Good, the voice whispered. I did not know when I started answering it. Coffee stopped working, then energy drinks. My hands shook constantly. Words slipped away from me mid-sentence. I forgot how long it had been since I ate. The mirror showed a stranger, skin pale, eyes sunken, lips cracked. Emily tried to intervene. She begged me to rest, just for an hour. She said she would watch the doll. She promised she would not look away. I almost agreed. The doll spoke before I could. She cannot, it said softly. She listens. Emily went silent. I saw the truth settle into her expression. She knew it was right. That terrified me more than the doll ever had. The house responded to my wakefulness. Rooms stayed brighter. Shadows retreated. The air felt lighter, almost warm. It was as if the house approved of my sacrifice. I began to understand how easily devotion could feel like purpose. On the 7th night without sleep, I started seeing things. They appeared at the edges of my vision, flickers of movement, shapes that vanished when I turned my head. Once, I saw a small figure standing in the doorway, watching me watch the doll. When I blinked, it was gone. The doll remained, always constant, always present. You are doing well, it told me. My thoughts slowed, thick and heavy, like moving through water. Time lost meaning. Minutes stretched into hours. Hours collapsed into moments. I began counting blinks instead of seconds, punishing myself for each one. Emily grew distant. She touched my arm less. She spoke to me carefully, as if I might shatter. I realized with a dull ache that I scared her now. Not the doll, me. That night, I nearly failed. My vision darkened, closing in at the edges. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, fighting gravity itself. The doll loomed closer, its face filling my sight. Stay, it whispered. I whispered back. I am trying. Something inside me cracked. Not porcelain, something softer. I began laughing. It started quietly, then grew louder, uncontrollable. Emily rushed in, alarmed, but I could not stop. Tears streamed down my face as I laughed at nothing, at everything. The doll watched, unmoving. When the laughter finally died, the house was silent. The doll's eyes opened, just for a moment, not wide, not threatening, satisfied. I understood then what I was becoming. I was not a guardian, I was a replacement, and the doll was teaching me how to forget what sleep ever felt like. The idea of rest became abstract, like a word from a language I no longer spoke. My body continued to function out of habit, but the rhythms that once guided it had vanished. Morning meant nothing. Night meant everything. I lived inside the hours when most people slept, and the doll ruled those hours completely. Emily stopped asking me to sleep. That was how I knew things had gone too far. She watched me instead, the same way I watched the doll, carefully, quietly, as if sudden movement might break something fragile inside me. I caught her staring more than once, her eyes filled with fear and something close to mourning. It felt wrong to be the object of that look, but I no longer had the energy to question it. The doll never left my side. During the day, it rested in the chair across from me. At night, it stood closer, sometimes so close I could see my reflection warped in the cracks of its porcelain face. Its eyes stayed closed, but I knew they were aware of me. Awareness had become its default state. "You are learning," the voice said one night. I nodded without realizing I had done it. I began to forget things, small things at first. Passwords, names of streets I had driven down for years. Then larger pieces began slipping away. Memories of childhood, the sound of my mother's voice, the feeling of falling asleep beside Emily without fear. The house filled the gaps. It whispered reminders through the walls. It showed me things in reflections that were not quite real. In the bathroom mirror, I saw myself standing behind my own body, eyes wide open, watching. When I turned around, I was alone. Emily tried to leave. I found her at the front door with a bag in her hand, tears streaking her face. She said she could not watch me disappear. She said she loved me too much to stay. The pain of hearing that barely registered. Before I could speak, the doll appeared beside her. It did not touch her. It did not need to. "You cannot," it said. Emily's shoulders sagged. The fight drained out of her like air from a punctured lung. She dropped the bag and sank to the floor. Sobbing, I stood there, unmoving, watching the scene with a detachment that horrified me. I did nothing. That night, I realized the doll no longer needed to speak loudly to control us. It had learned patience. My thoughts began looping, simple phrases repeated over and over in my mind. Stay awake. Watch. Do not blink. Each repetition felt comforting, like a lullaby turned inside out. I stopped resisting the loops because resistance required effort. On what I believe was the 10th night without sleep, I experienced something new. Stillness, not physical stillness, but mental. For a brief, terrifying moment, my thoughts stopped entirely. I stared at the doll, and the world narrowed to that single point. No past, no future, only watching. The doll leaned closer, its eyes opened, fully. For the first time since the beginning, I saw what lived behind them. It was not a child, it was hunger, an endless, patient hunger that fed on vigilance and wakefulness, a hunger that had burned long before the house existed, long before Eleanor's name was stitched into cloth. "You will do," it said. Something inside me surrendered. I felt myself slipping backward, deeper into my own skull, as if making room for something else to step forward. My muscles locked, my breathing slowed. I remained standing, eyes open, unblinking. Emily screamed my name. I did not answer. The doll closed its eyes again, and I understood the final truth. Rest was never the goal. Replacement was. Time lost its edges. It did not move forward anymore. It stacked itself, moment upon moment, all identical, all awake. I existed inside that stack, perfectly still, perfectly alert, like an insect preserved in amber that could still think. Emily told me later that I stopped blinking. At first, she thought it was a joke, some grim side effect of exhaustion. Then she realized it never stopped. Minutes passed, then hours. My eyes stayed open, unblinking, fixed on the doll wherever it chose to sit. Tears streamed down my face, but my eyelids did not move. I did not feel pain. I felt purpose. The doll no longer needed to speak aloud. Its instructions arrived fully formed inside my head, smooth and unquestionable. Stand here, sit there, turn your head, watch. Each command felt natural, like remembering how to breathe. The house adjusted around me. Lights stayed on without flickering. Doors opened silently. Shadows avoided my line of sight. It was as if the house recognized me as part of its structure now. Another fixture bolted into place. Emily became quiet. She stopped trying to touch me. When she spoke, it was in whispers, as if afraid to wake something sleeping inside me. She begged me to blink, to sit down, to look at her instead of the doll. I wanted to tell her I loved her. The words formed somewhere deep inside, but they never reached my mouth. The doll moved freely. It walked now, not clumsily, not stiffly. Smooth steps carried it from room to room while I followed with my eyes, my neck rotating slowly to keep it centered in my vision. Its eyes remained closed. They did not need to open anymore. I was awake for it. At night, I stood beside Emily's bed. I watched her sleep the way the doll once had. I counted her breaths. I adjusted the blanket when it slipped. When she stirred, I felt a sharp spike of fear that she might wake and see me standing there, watching. Sometimes she did. She never screamed. She just cried. The house grew warmer. The smell of smoke returned, faint but constant, seeping from the walls like a memory that refused to fade. I began seeing burn marks appear and disappear on the floor, outlines of small feet that never stayed long enough to be proven real. The doll began sitting farther away from me, across rooms, down hallways, testing. I never looked away. That pleased it. One night, Emily did something unexpected. She turned off the lights. The sudden darkness slammed into me like a physical blow. My breath hitched. For the first time in days, uncertainty rippled through my thoughts. I could not see the doll. I felt it. "You have to rest," Emily sobbed from somewhere nearby. "Please." The darkness pressed closer. I felt the doll's attention shift. The whisper returned, sharp and angry. "Do not let go." My body trembled. For a moment, a terrifying moment, I felt my eyelids twitch. Emily reached for me. The lights snapped back on. The doll sat directly in front of me. Its eyes were open, not hungry, grateful. I understood then. The doll was almost ready to sleep, and I was almost finished becoming what it needed. The first sign was subtle. Emily stopped dreaming. She told me this in the morning, her voice flat, distant. She said she closed her eyes and felt nothing. No images, no whispers, no fear. Just a blank stretch of time that ended when she woke up. For someone who had been haunted by nightmares for weeks, the absence should have been a relief. It terrified her. I stood in the living room, watching the doll from across the space, my eyes dry and burning. I heard Emily's words, understood them intellectually, but they landed somewhere far away. My world had narrowed to angles and distance, to lines of sight, to watching. The doll rested on the floor now, not sitting, not standing, lying on its side like a thing finally allowed to rest. Its eyes were closed. That was new. Emily began losing time. She would sit at the table and suddenly find her coffee cold in her hands, hours gone without memory. She would wake up in different rooms with no recollection of how she got there. Sometimes she found herself standing in front of me, staring at my face as if waiting for instructions I never gave. I wanted to help her. I could not move. The house grew quieter. Too quiet. The usual creaks and distant whispers faded until silence pressed against my ears like pressure underwater. Even the clock stopped ticking. Time, which had already felt distorted, seemed to pause entirely. Emily tried to break the silence. She spoke loudly. She played music. She shouted my name. Nothing filled the space the way sound should. Everything felt muffled, swallowed before it could fully exist. That night, she did not go to bed. She sat across from me on the couch, her knees pulled to her chest, watching the doll the way I did. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, mirroring my own. "You don't sleep," she said quietly. "It doesn't sleep. Now I don't sleep." Her voice cracked. "I think it's spreading," she whispered. The doll twitched just once, a small movement of porcelain fingers curling inward. Emily gasped. The doll remained still after that, but the damage was done. Emily could not look away. I saw recognition settle into her expression, the same understanding that had hollowed me out days ago. She stayed awake that night, and the next, without the doll speaking a word. The rules shifted. The house responded differently to her wakefulness. Lights dimmed when she focused too hard. Shadows gathered near her feet. The air around her felt colder, heavier, as if it resisted her presence. She was not meant to watch. On the third night, she broke. She began pacing the house, hands pressed to her temples, whispering that she could hear breathing in the walls. She begged me to close my eyes, to let the doll wake. to stop whatever was happening. I could not answer. The doll stirred. Slowly, it rolled onto its back. Its chest rose and fell. Emily screamed. The sound cut through the house like a blade. For the first time in days, something answered her. The whisper returned, louder than before. "She cannot replace you." Emily collapsed to her knees. I watched as the truth settled over her like ash. She was not the chosen watcher. She was excess. That night, Emily tried to sleep. Her body gave in even as her mind resisted. She slumped on the couch, eyes fluttering closed. The moment they did, the house exhaled. The doll's eyes snapped open. I felt it like a wound reopening. The doll sat up. It looked at me, then it looked at Emily, and for the first time, I understood what it planned to take from her. Emily did not wake up screaming. That was the first thing I noticed. She slept the way people sleep when something has already been decided for them. Her breathing was slow, even, almost peaceful. The house felt different with her eyes closed, like a pressure valve had been released. The walls stopped listening. The shadows settled. The doll stood beside her, not watching, waiting. I stood across the room, locked in place by purpose and paralysis. I could not step forward. I could not look away. I could only observe as the rules completed themselves. The doll leaned closer to Emily's face. Its eyes remained open. They were no longer glassy or empty. Something moved behind them now, slow and deliberate, like embers stirred beneath ash. The air thickened. The smell of smoke deepened until it coated the back of my throat. Emily's lips parted. She whispered something I could not hear. The doll answered, not with words, with memory. The room filled with heat that did not burn. Shapes flickered along the walls, impressions of another place bleeding through. I saw a small bedroom that was not ours, wallpaper peeling, curtains scorched at the edges, a child's bed surrounded by flame. Emily gasped. Her body arched once, sharply, then fell still. Her eyes remained closed, but tears leaked from the corners, trailing silently into her hair. I tried to scream. No sound came. The doll straightened. Its chest rose and fell, drawing in a breath that did not belong to it. With each inhale, Emily's became shallower. Something invisible stretched between them, thinning with every passing second. The house watched. I felt it shift around us, settling into a new arrangement. Furniture creaked softly, adjusting. The ceiling sighed. The structure accepted the exchange without resistance. The doll exhaled. Emily stopped breathing. The silence afterward was absolute, not the quiet of rest, the quiet of completion. The doll closed its eyes. For the first time since I brought it home, it truly slept. I felt something release inside me. A pressure I had carried for days loosened its grip. My eyelids burned. My knees buckled. I fell to the floor, gasping, air rushing back into lungs that remembered how to rest. Sleep crashed over me like a wave. I dreamed of fire and porcelain and a little girl standing alone in the dark, finally allowed to lie down. She smiled at me, not kindly, but gratefully. When I woke, daylight filled the room. Emily lay where she had been, still, peaceful, empty. The doll sat nearby, eyes closed, hands folded neatly in its lap. It did not move when I approached. It did not react when I touched it. The house was quiet. too quiet. I understood then what the doll had taken. It had not taken Emily's life. It had taken her place. And now that it slept, someone else had to stay awake. I woke alone. That was the first cruelty the house offered me after Emily was gone. The bed beside me was cold, perfectly smooth, as if no one had ever slept there. For a brief, stupid moment, I convinced myself she had gone to the kitchen, that she would come back carrying a cup of coffee and ask why I looked so tired. Then I remembered. The memory did not arrive like a scream or a collapse. It settled gently, like dust falling after a fire has burned itself out. Emily was gone. The house knew it. The doll knew it. And somehow, impossibly, the world outside continued. The doll slept. It sat in the living room chair, eyes closed, head slightly bowed, hands folded. It looked peaceful in a way that felt obscene. I stood across from it for a long time, afraid that if I moved too quickly, it would wake. It did not. I checked Emily again. Her body was unchanged. No marks, no signs of struggle. She looked as though she had simply stopped in the middle of breathing. I called her name once. Quietly, the sound felt wrong in the room. I did not say it again. The house felt larger without Emily's presence. Rooms stretched farther than they should have. Hallways felt longer. The silence had weight now, pressing down on me from every direction. Every sound I made echoed too long, as if the house wanted to remember me. I slept. I did not mean to. My body gave in without asking permission, collapsing into rest the moment the doll's eyes stayed shut. Sleep came fast and deep, like falling into dark water. I dreamed of standing watch, not as myself, as something fixed in place. I was standing in the corner of the room, eyes open, unmoving, while the doll slept behind me. The dream felt familiar, comforting. When I woke, my neck ached from holding the same position too long. I understood then. Even asleep, I was watching. Days passed. I did not leave the house. I did not call anyone. Food appeared where I left it. Lights turned on when I entered rooms. The house began caring for me the way it had cared for the doll. I realized with a hollow dread that it no longer needed Emily to maintain balance. It had me. The doll slept through it all. Sometimes I thought I saw its chest rise and fall. Other times, I noticed cracks in its porcelain smoothing over, as if rest were repairing it. Each small sign of recovery filled me with quiet terror. At night, I dreamed less. Sleep no longer brought escape. It brought instruction. I dreamed of standing, watching, counting breaths that were not my own. I woke knowing exactly where to position myself in the house, which angles to hold, which doors to keep in sight. I obeyed. One afternoon, the front door opened. I felt it before I heard it. A pressure shifted in the air, a subtle imbalance. I stood in the hallway, watching as a man stepped inside. A neighbor. He called my name, concern heavy in his voice. He said he had not seen Emily in days. I did not answer. The doll remained asleep. The man took another step forward. The house responded. The lights dimmed. The air thickened. I felt a pull inside my chest, a reflex stronger than thought. I moved without deciding to. I stood between the man and the living room. He stopped, confused, unsettled by my stare. Behind me, the doll slept. I understood the final rule. The watcher does not rest. The watcher does not leave. The watcher protects the sleep. And now that the doll rested, the house had made me permanent. The first visitor came 3 days after Emily was gone. He knocked once, softly, as if unsure he was welcome. I stood in the hallway, watching the doll sleep in the living room. The sound of the knock rippled through the house like a dropped stone in still water. I felt it register somewhere deep in my chest, a warning more than a surprise. The doll did not wake. That meant the responsibility was mine. I opened the door. The man introduced himself as a police officer. He said there had been concerns, a missing person report, a welfare check. His eyes moved past me, scanning the interior of the house with practiced calm. I saw his attention catch on the doll for just a fraction of a second. Something in him recognized it. I stepped sideways, blocking his view. "I am fine," I said. The words came easily, too easily. He asked about Emily. I told him she was resting. I told him she did not want to be disturbed. I watched his eyes narrow slightly, watched suspicion begin to form. Behind me, the house shifted. The lights dimmed just enough to be noticed. The air thickened, pressing against his uniform, his breath slowing unconsciously. I felt the house respond to my presence, to my intention. The officer took one step forward. I felt the pull again, not a command, a reflex. I moved to stand directly between him and the living room. "Please leave," I said. My voice sounded wrong to my own ears. Flat, empty. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. He backed toward the door, eyes never leaving my face. When he crossed the threshold, the pressure lifted. The lights returned to normal. The house relaxed. I closed the door. The doll slept on. More visitors followed. Neighbors, friends, a woman from Emily's work. Each came with concern etched into their faces. Each noticed the doll. Each felt the house push back. None of them stayed long. I learned the patterns quickly. Where to stand, when to speak, how to let the house assist without revealing itself too much. The doll slept deeper with every successful deflection, its porcelain face smoothing, cracks fading like scars healing under time. At night, I stood watch. Sleep came in fragments now, stolen moments when I leaned against a wall without realizing it. Even then, part of me remained alert, eyes open somewhere inside my skull. The doll never woke. The house began to test me. One evening, a woman refused to leave. Emily's sister. She pushed past me, desperation lending her strength. She called Emily's name, her voice breaking as it echoed through the halls. The doll stirred. I felt it before I saw it. The air grew sharp, electric. The woman froze mid-step, her breath hitching. I moved instantly, placing myself between her and the living room. "You cannot see her," I said. The words were not mine. The house pressed in. She screamed, not in fear, in pain. I watched as her knees buckled, her hands clutching her head as if something inside was squeezing too hard. I guided her back to the door, my grip firm but gentle. The moment she crossed the threshold, the pressure released, and she collapsed onto the porch. Sobbing, I closed the door. My hands were steady. That night, I realized something else had changed. I did not feel guilt. I felt satisfaction. The doll slept peacefully, and the house was quiet. I took my place in the corner of the living room, eyes fixed on the chair where the doll rested. Visitors would keep coming. They always do, and I would make sure none of them woke her. I used to believe dreams belonged only to the living. That belief died the night the doll dreamed. It began with a sound, not a whisper, not a voice. A sigh. It slipped from the doll's porcelain lips so softly I almost missed it. I stood frozen in my place, eyes locked on the chair where it slept. For days now, it had remained perfectly still, its rest deep and undisturbed. The house breathed easily around it, settled into the rhythm of protection and obedience. The sigh came again. The doll shifted, just a fraction of an inch, but enough to send a spike of fear through me, sharper than anything I had felt since Emily's last breath. I stepped closer, careful, deliberate, positioning myself where I could see every part of it without casting a shadow. Its chest rose and fell. The house responded instantly. The temperature dropped. The walls creaked as if stretching after a long confinement. I felt pressure bloom behind my eyes, a warning pulse that told me something was changing. The doll was not resting anymore. It was dreaming. Images flooded the house, not visions in my mind, but impressions stamped into the air itself. Firelight flickered across the walls. The smell of smoke returned in full force, thick and suffocating. I saw the outline of a small room appear and disappear. Its shape burned into the darkness. I knew this place. It was the bedroom from my dreams, the one where a child had burned while the world slept. The doll twitched. A thin crack opened along its cheek, glowing faintly red from within. I felt pain mirror itself inside my skull, as if the doll's memory were cutting through me to surface. "No," I whispered. The house shuddered. The doll's fingers curled. A low sound escaped it, somewhere between a sob and a breath. I understood then what dreaming meant for something like it. Rest was not peace. Rest was remembering. The house filled with movement. Shadows ran along the ceiling like smoke. Doors rattled in their frames. Somewhere upstairs, glass shattered. I did not look away. I could not. Watching was the only thing keeping the dream contained. The doll's eyes fluttered beneath closed lids. I stepped directly in front of it. "Stay asleep," I said. The words were not a command. They were a plea. The pressure intensified. My vision blurred, but I held my position, forcing my eyes to remain open, forcing my mind to anchor itself to the present. If the doll woke now, there would be nothing left to stop it. The sigh became a whimper, then silence. Slowly, the house settled. The glow beneath the doll's cracks faded. The smell of smoke thinned until it was only a memory again. The temperature rose, stabilizing inch by inch. The doll relaxed. Its breathing slowed. It slept on. I staggered backward, nearly collapsing as the strain released me. My muscles burned. My throat felt raw, as if I had been screaming without sound. I understood something new. The doll did not just need a watcher to stay awake, it needed someone to keep it from remembering, because if it ever woke fully from its dreams, it would not need a house, it would not need me, and nothing would be left asleep ever again. There is a limit to how long a body can stay awake, even when fear sharpens it into something unnatural. I learned where that limit was the night I missed a blink. It started quietly, too quietly. The house had been calm since the doll dreamed. The walls held their shape. The shadows behaved. The doll slept deeply, its porcelain face smooth and still, its chest rising and falling in a slow, measured rhythm. I stood where I always did, eyes fixed, muscles locked. My entire existence narrowed to the act of watching. Time stretched. I counted breaths. 100. 200. My vision burned, the edges of the room pulsing faintly, as if the house itself were breathing with the doll. I welcomed the pain. Pain meant I was still present. Then my eye twitched, just once, a tiny, involuntary spasm, the kind a healthy person would never notice. But I felt it like a gunshot inside my skull. My focus wavered, the room blurred. I blinked. The darkness lasted less than a heartbeat. When my eyes opened, the doll was standing. It had been sitting. I knew that with absolute certainty. Now it stood several feet closer, its head tilted, its eyes open wide for the first time in days. They were not grateful. They were not hungry. They were alert. The house reacted violently. The temperature plummeted. A shockwave rippled through the walls, knocking pictures to the floor and sending cracks racing along the ceiling. The smell of smoke roared back, thick and choking, as if an entire memory had ignited at once. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering. "No," I whispered. The doll took a step. The sound was soft, porcelain against wood, but it echoed like a scream. Behind it, shadows tore free from corners and pooled at its feet, writhing like living things. I forced my eyes wider, pain flaring hot and bright. Tears streamed down my face, blurring my vision, but I did not blink again. The doll stopped. It swayed slightly, as if testing balance. The house groaned. I felt pressure claw at my chest, squeezing my lungs until each breath became a battle. Somewhere above us, glass shattered. The walls peeled back in places, revealing blackened beams beneath fresh paint. The doll lifted its head and smiled. Not the painted smile, not the cracked imitation. A real one, the smile of something that had just been given permission. Images flooded the house, not memories. Plans. I saw doors opening. I saw the house expanding outward, stretching its influence beyond walls and locks. I saw eyes opening in other places, other homes, other bedrooms where people slept without knowing they were being counted. My knees buckled. I dropped to one knee but kept my eyes locked on the doll, forcing my spine straight through sheer will. My body screamed at me to rest, to surrender, to let darkness take me just for a second. I could not. If I closed my eyes now, the world would not wake again. The doll leaned forward. "You are tired," it said. Its voice was clear, no longer a whisper. "I am awake," I replied, my throat raw. The house shuddered, as if responding to a challenge. The doll hesitated. For the first time since it came into my life, uncertainty flickered across its face. It was not used to resistance at this stage. It had not planned for a watcher this broken to still be standing. I used that moment. I dragged myself upright, every muscle trembling, and stepped directly into its path. The air between us crackled, heavy with heat and cold at once. "Sleep," I said. The word tore out of me like a curse. The doll recoiled. Its smile faltered. The shadows screamed soundlessly, retreating toward the walls. The pressure eased just enough for me to draw a full breath. Slowly, painfully, the doll stepped back. One step, then another. It sat, its eyes fluttered. The house began to seal itself, cracks knitting shut, the temperature rising inch by inch. The smell of smoke thinned, then vanished. The doll's eyes closed. It slumped slightly, porcelain chin resting against its chest. It slept. I collapsed. This time, I did not hit the floor. The house caught me when I woke. Hours later, daylight filtered weakly through the windows. My body felt hollowed out, scraped clean. I knew with a sick certainty that something had changed. I had missed a blink, and the doll had noticed. After the night, I missed a blink. My body never truly recovered. Something inside me had torn, stretched too far to return to its original shape. I remained awake, but the sharp edge of vigilance dulled. Awareness came in waves now, rising and falling no matter how fiercely I fought to keep it steady. The doll slept. It slept deeply, peacefully, as if the near awakening had only exhausted it further. Its porcelain face looked smoother than ever, almost warm in the dim light. The house wrapped itself around that stillness, reinforcing it, protecting it, and I was cracking. I began losing minutes. I would stand in my usual place, eyes fixed on the doll, then suddenly find myself leaning against a wall across the room with no memory of moving. My muscles trembled constantly. My thoughts slipped sideways, scattering before I could hold them. The house noticed. Where it had once assisted me, it now corrected me. Floors seemed to tilt, guiding my steps back into position. Lights brightened suddenly when my vision dimmed. Even the air thickened around me when my focus began to drift, pressing against my lungs to force me upright. I realized with dread that I was no longer in control of my watch. I was being watched back. The doll began whispering again, not often, not loudly, just enough. "You are thinning," it said. I did not answer. "You are almost done." The words slid into my mind like a verdict already decided. Sleep attacked me without warning. Not the deep collapse I once feared, but brief blackouts, flashes of nothing that stole seconds at a time. Each time I came back, the doll seemed closer, as if measuring how much it could move before I noticed. Once, I came to with my face inches from its own. Its eyes were still closed, but I felt them. Emily returned to my thoughts more often, not as memory, but as presence. I would hear her voice behind me, feel her hand on my shoulder. When I turned, there was only empty air. The house was cruel in its timing, offering comfort only when it knew it would hurt most. On what I believe was the second night after the blink, the house tried something new. The front door opened. I felt the imbalance immediately, sharper than before. A figure stepped inside, slow and careful. a man I did not recognize. He carried a camera, his movements deliberate, curious rather than concerned. A journalist. The doll stirred, just slightly. Panic flared through my exhaustion. I moved to intercept, but my legs faltered. The house compensated, pushing me forward, setting me directly in the man's path. He froze when he saw me. My eyes must have terrified him. He raised his camera. The flash went off. The doll inhaled. The sound was deep and full, the breath of something waking. I screamed. The house screamed with me. Walls buckled. Shadows exploded outward. The journalist dropped his camera and clutched his head, collapsing to the floor as if struck from within. I forced myself between him and the doll, every nerve aflame. No more, I rasped. The doll's lips curved. "You cannot last," it said gently. It was not threatening me. It was reassuring itself. The journalist crawled backward, sobbing, dragging himself toward the door. The house allowed it. The moment he crossed the threshold, the pressure released, and the world snapped back into place. The doll settled. It slept again. I fell to my knees, gasping, my vision tunneling. I understood then what the final stage would look like. The doll did not need to wake. It only needed me to disappear, and I was very close. I do not know how much time passed before I realized I was no longer standing. I came back to myself, sitting on the floor, my back against the wall, my head tilted at an angle that hurt my neck. The doll was still asleep. That was the first thing I checked. Its porcelain chest rose and fell, slow and steady, the rhythm of something finally at peace. I was failing. The house no longer tried to hide it. Where it had once corrected me gently, it now braced me openly. The wall at my back felt warm, almost supportive. The floor curved just enough to keep me from slumping completely. I understood then that the house was not keeping me alive out of kindness. It was preserving me. Sleep crept in like rot. Not sudden, not dramatic. It spread through my thoughts, softening edges, erasing urgency. I fought it with everything I had left, counting breaths, counting heartbeats, whispering Emily's name under my breath like a prayer I no longer believed in. The doll shifted. My heart lurched, but it did not wake. Instead, it rolled onto its side, curling slightly, as if seeking comfort. A faint sound escaped it, almost a sigh. Watching it sleep like that filled me with a grief so sharp it nearly cut through the fog in my mind. This was what it had wanted all along. Not destruction, not chaos, rest. I wondered how many watchers had come before me, how many houses had learned to cradle something like this, how many people had sat where I sat now, telling themselves they could last one more night. The front door opened. I barely registered it at first. Footsteps crossed the threshold. Light spilled into the hallway. A woman's voice called out, cautious but steady. "Hello." A social worker. She moved slowly, taking in the silence, the darkness, the way the house seemed to breathe around her. Her eyes found the doll almost immediately. Something in her posture shifted, a subtle recognition she did not understand. She stepped closer. The doll stirred. Panic flared through the haze. I tried to stand. My legs did not respond. I tried to shout. Only a rasp escaped my throat. The house did not help me this time. It wanted to see what would happen next. The woman crouched in front of the doll, concern softening her features. She reached out, fingers trembling, and brushed dust from the porcelain dress. The doll's eyes opened, fully, calmly. They were not hungry. They were rested. The woman froze, breath caught halfway between inhale and scream. The air thickened, pressing her flat against the moment. I felt the shift instantly, a weight lifting from my chest as something else settled into place. The doll stood. I watched from the floor as it turned away from me for the first time since it chose me. Its gaze locked onto the woman, studying her with gentle interest. "You look tired," it said. The words were kind. The house responded eagerly, walls adjusting, shadows aligning, preparing a place. The woman's eyes fluttered. She swayed. I understood then that the cycle did not end with my death. It ended with my replacement. As the woman sank to her knees, the fog in my mind cleared just enough for one final realization. The doll did not open its eyes when I slept. It opened them when it was ready to choose someone else to stay awake. The last thing I saw before darkness finally claimed me was the doll closing its eyes again, and somewhere behind me, the house settling in to watch. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.